we're going to talk about our NBA awards picks today, have the MVP debate.
Man, don't nobody care about that. Don't nobody care about that. People are losing their jobs. People are out in the streets. They can't feed their families anymore.
There's an NBA coaching recession.
The Cronkies made the call. The Servers made the call. It's over. Denver's in shambles. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. Because the NBA is upside down.
The NBA is upside down, truly. Appreciate everybody that came through here, that's here right and early, ready for this top of the stream, because you guys know what we're going to talk about. Immediately before we get to the main topic, like Donovan said, we got to talk about the fact that the Denver Nuggets saw what the Memphis Grizzlies did, in which they fired Taylor Jenkins 3 weeks before the NBA playoffs started. We all came up here and said, okay, well, I guess it's not crazy he got fired, but the timing's insane. You got to play the goddamn Lakers in 3 weeks in 7-game series. What are you talking about? The Denver Nuggets said, hold on, let's get crazier. They fired this guy with like 5 games left in the season. They fired Mike Malone. It's insane. Madness. He's gone. And on top of that, it was compounded with Calvin Booth, him being gone. And I look at this picture and all I can think about is a tweet that said he looks like Nicolas Cage put on Mike Brown's body. That's facts.
Big facts.
Damn, triple homicide. What the fuck?
Both of these guys have been fired. The Nuggets are in disarray. From top down, their leadership is obviously completely changing. They lost faith in this product. They said, sure, we can do it in the summer, or we can do this shit right fucking now, and we can rip the Band-Aid off before the playoffs even start, set a tone, whatever. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I say always. Last time it happened with the Grizzlies, I was shocked. And I think overall, nobody is surprised that Mike Malone is not coaching the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
They are surprised that Mike Malone is not coaching the Denver Nuggets today.
Yeah.
Right? Like
exactly.
Like if you are going to if you're going to fire somebody, the number one thing that they've kind of been saying all year, right, with whether it be like through Jamal Murray's injuries and him coming back and all the young guys, it's like, hey man, like, we have Jokic, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you are not allowing this team and you are not allowing your organization to see what happens is wild. And like, if you're the Grizzlies, okay, I can get on board with that a little bit more because Ja is not one of the 15 best players to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Because Ja is not in the middle of an MVP caliber season. Because Ja, like his presence alone doesn't make you the best offense in the league and with the best on and off numbers. Like you have Jokic at the peak of his powers. This man just had 60 the other day and Russell Westbrook and his decisions messed that up. But you see everything that Jokic is doing on a nightly basis and you don't even let them have a play-in game. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just, like you said, when you're the Grizzlies doing this, you're far from a championship. You don't really believe you have a chance. So you rip the Band-Aid off because you want to establish something early. I guess I can understand it, right? And maybe you say part of establishing this new culture will be a playoff run and maybe we can start things off from a high note. And if we don't, it's fine because we don't really believe in our hearts that we're making some shit happen this year regardless. When you have Nikola Jokic in his prime, every year must be treated like gold. You cannot waste a single season. Not only is it you're playing with your GOAT's legacy, which like I'm sure they care about a little bit, right? They want to do right by him and like they understand the gravity of his career and what it means for the organization at large. But also, even outside of the implications for him, you only have so many years of contending around this guy. So maybe they feel it's in their best interest to do this now and that gives them a better chance of making a playoff run. I find that kind of hard to believe. Unless you just believe that the locker room is so completely far gone that there is no saving it, that Mike Malone had to go or otherwise you were guaranteed a first round exit. If you feel that way, I get it. But it just feels crazy, right? Like it goes against everything we've come to know about the history of the NBA and what works. Never do you run towards instability and it works out well. Like that's not a tried and true formula.
Yeah, I don't get it, Mo. I don't understand.
It's hilarious. When I saw this happen, I was like, damn, bro, they got both of these guys out in a package deal. You think they told them at like the same time that, hey, you're gone? You think they brought them into a room together and be like, yeah, you guys are out of here? Or was it like one of them was hired first?
Probably not, because I think it was reported that these guys fucking hate each other and that there was a lot of bickering between these two, and that kind of led to the downfall of the organization. There was a lot of disconnect between the two most important voices in this organization. There's a lot of disconnect in who Mike Malone wanted on his team and who Calvin Booth continued to draft, continue to pay. We'll get to some tweets later about some stories about that, but it seems like these two guys fucking hated each other. And I think, we can get to the point here. The story here on why this team is struggling so much and why we got here is because the roster decision making over the last few years since Calvin Booth took over for Tim Connolly after he went to the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's been pure bullshit. It's been a deterioration of a championship core year by year. They're whittling away at their strengths and what made the roster so cohesive and so talented in 2023. They've slowly chipped that away. And to me, that's squarely on Calvin Booth. And it feels like, I think I tweeted that Calvin Booth is the Antichrist and he dragged Mike Malone with him to hell. That's how I feel about this. So he was going to get fired and Mike Malone was a casualty to go along with him.
Yeah, I think like after 23, after they win the title, it was pretty clear even going into that series, like, hey, Bruce Brown's probably not going to be here in the offseason. Like, he's going to go, he's going to get a bag, and that is going to be that. And so when Bruce Brown walks, you're like, okay, fine. That's okay. We expected that. Shout out to you. You're going to get your bag. That's cool. We're going to be okay. We're going to let Christian Braun, try to step into this role. We're going to put all the young guys in position. We're going to go from there.
Yeah.
You see them collapse in Game 7 against the Timberwolves. That entire series, that entire run, even that entire year, a big storyline of what they were last year was, hey, these young guys aren't really ready. Like, the bench isn't what it should be. And luckily for Denver, they had the best starting five, the best five-man unit in the game. And you were able to really, really win off of that. And so it was just a problem that you were going to be able to see. We saw it last year, and you came into this offseason. I think this past offseason, that's really where Calvin Booth proved to be a bad decision maker. Like, this is the year where if you really need to be a GM, you needed to prove it this offseason, and you didn't, because KCP walked and you replaced him with Russell Westbrook. Even if you said, hey, KCP, go get your bag. Like, we're not going to pay you. We're not going to go into the second apron. That's cool. You can't replace him with a guy with the archetype of Russell Westbrook, because that just doubles down on all of your weaknesses. It brings in some other problems that KCP didn't necessarily bring in. And now you're in the situation where you're probably going to be in the play-in. And wouldn't it be crazy if the Nuggets, and again, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't believe in the 9 and 10 seeds in the West. But if the Denver Nuggets miss the playoffs entirely,
that'd be ridiculous.
Because they're in the play-in, 2 games, you never know what happens, that type of situation. That's insane. And
if they lose, these motherfuckers lose.
Yeah, that's what's on the table because of Calvin.
They're very capable of doing that.
No, they're not. If they lose to the Kings, we need to dismantle the franchise. If we need to dismantle everything. Jokic loses his best in the world tag. If you lose to the Kings or the Mavericks in the play-in tournament for the 10th seed, everybody is a suspect. But you keep mentioning the KCP thing, and that's definitely the biggest offense, right? And I think it's important to frame why it was such a bad move, because people often, even we've talked about it from a point of view of being cheap, right? The team didn't want to pay the luxury tax and get into the second apron. Yes, but it was not just that they're cheap, because the team has been in the luxury tax for a good amount of years. I got this tweet pulled up, which is a good way to frame it. They've paid the luxury tax for the last 3 seasons. Their payroll has been the highest in the league for several years. The problem isn't that they were too cheap to pay KCP. The problem is that they were fucking dumb and paid guys like Zeke, Saric, and others instead. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly right. This is Calvin Booth. It's not just the organization was cheap and the ownership was like, we can't go in the second apron. It's you probably can't go in the second apron, and you have to get rid of KCP because you gave $6 million here, $7 million there, $6 million here to players who don't play, who are not in your rotation. Players who, after the trade deadline, Calvin Booth himself got onto a press conference and said, yeah, we tried to make moves, but it didn't materialize. And specifically, we tried to trade Zeke Naji and Dario Saric because we don't play them. He went onto a mic and he said that. Shit. That's ridiculous. Who goes on a mic and says, we tried to trade Zeke Naji, but nobody wanted his ass? That's ridiculous.
Oh, man. When I see all this turmoil going within the Denver Nuggets roster and just organization in general, it's normal, but usually like turmoil is like under the wraps. Mm-hmm. And for them to just like blow this thing completely the fuck up makes me question everything within this organization, even the owners. Like I can try my best to understand like the timing of this whole entire thing. But at the end of the day, if it's already written, your future's already written, then why not just like write it out and leave out with class? What happened with like decency in today's society? Why are you just ripping the Band-Aid off straight up just like that, bro? The season ends in like 3-4 days. What do you gain from this whatsoever? You want I can understand the logic of like trying to spark a light into your guys, but at the end of the day, like if the candle's gonna blow out, why force it?
Yeah. Well, I guess the answer to that probably comes in what we saw from the last press conference after their bad loss to Portland when Mike Malone called out his team. And he,
again,
for lack of, he's done it so many times because they fucking need it. For lack of, to summarize this, what he basically said is, we were not prepared. Some players were full of shit. And he said, they don't watch film. They weren't prepared for what came. He said, these guys only watch film when we watch as a team. He pretty much explicitly said, these guys don't try hard enough. They don't want it bad enough. And you can theorize on who that may be. Probably the podcaster, probably some of the other guys that aren't the top 3 stars. Like, I'm sure Aaron Gordon's fine. I'm sure Jokic is fine. Probably Jamal Murray.
What if MPJ is out here just grinding tape every day?
Right, shout out him. You're the main suspect. People are going to your name. That's probably a reputation-based thing. So you got some looking inward to do if that's not true. But people are looking at him. Mm-hmm. People are looking at guys like Zeke Naji, guys like these other guys who have always had the opportunity but haven't quite earned a role for reasons that, you were paid preemptively because we want to make you part of this rotation. You haven't earned it yet. Maybe this is why. We don't know, though. That's just me theorizing on who the players may be. But he outright attacked half his roster and said, you guys don't try hard enough. Sounds like they had a fucking chaotic potion of nonsense brewing in this locker room.
But this is like Mike Malone to his core. He's time and time again throughout the last several years, throughout his entire coaching career and tenure, he likes to call guys out in the locker room and whatnot. And usually it somewhat works towards his favor. Now, of course, with all the losing that's been happening, I just watched an interview with the owner of the Denver Nuggets talking about how usually winning helps cover a lot of shit. But they've been noticing that, since the fucking All-Star break happened, they're below 500. I believe they're 11 and 13 and whatnot. And so in my mind, he had that last press conference and also whatever happened in that team meeting must have been the absolute worst. And he must have completely lost the locker room. And if you're going to if it's already hard enough being an NBA head coach when it comes to all the X's and O's and trying to lead a whole coaching staff. On top of that, you have to build somewhat of a relationship with each and every single player. And the most important skill to have as an NBA coach is to be able to get through your players and have them respect you. And if they're not even respecting you or don't care to listen to you, it's raps. I can understand why they made the decision, but the timing again is just always off.
Yeah, and first of all, it would be extremely funny if they're just out here giving Zeke Naji blank tapes. I would love that storyline. 2, if you're an NBA head coach and you win a championship, retire. Right? Retire. Because you're going to get fired in 2 years, right? The way that is going, everybody who's winning a championship, the cycle is you win a title. Next year, you expect to go back to back. You don't win. And then the next year, it's kind of disappointing. And you are about to get fired. And I think with Denver, Denver is one of the first massive casualties of the second apron and of the new CBA in terms of high level championship rosters, because you had a roster. Remember when they won in 23, everyone was saying oh, this is going to be the next dynasty. Jokic is still young. You have MPJ, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. All these guys are still super young. You can keep this core together. And you've seen year after year this team not be able to recuperate. And as that happens, you put more responsibility in different hands. You put more on different players' plates. And so part of that is, one, as a staff and as a team, you do have to learn how to develop players, right? And so some teams are better at that than others. You look at the Grizzlies, that's one of their strengths. Now, the rest of coaching in terms of X's and O's and keeping your players locked in on a night-to-night basis, that may not be it. But that is something where you can look at Mike Malone and you can look at the Nuggets as a whole and say, yeah, you guys haven't done the best at that.
Yeah. Per DNVR, a local Denver Nuggets reporting site, Calvin Booth hired a shooting coach named Mike Penberthy and wanted to rebuild the Nuggets organizationally. Mike Malone initially responded saying, no, that's a coach. I hire coaches. One of the many examples of how these two were not on the same page. So, there's a lot of things brewing about how these two were not, in lockstep, to say the least. Then we have another one here. One of the stories was that Colin Gillespie and Jalen Pickett would be playing scrimmages, and Malone would come in and reorganize the teams to stack a deck and mimic things about Pickett's weaknesses in his game in a fury. Pickett was a booth pick who was given a 3-year deal before ever playing a game. This, I don't know if this is true or not, but basically what he's saying is they would be running scrimmages and Mike Malone would go in and
picking on him.
just set Jalen Pickett up to fail and then make fun of him for like not rotating or running funny or something. Like, it just feels like there's so much petty reporting coming on. Like, it sounds like it was a mess in this locker room and a mess in this organization that, you know, a lot of times we don't know about these things until it happens. It reaches a boiling point and everybody has to go. And if it's true, these guys hate each other and you had this back and forth, I can kind of respect the Denver organization for saying, we're not going to say we're going to pick Booth. We're not going to pick Malone. Everybody in this bitch is doing a bad job. You're both fired. We're restarting from the top. You're both petty, and now you both got to die because of it. I kind of respect that. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Also, if you're Mike Malone, don't worry. You're about to have another job in about 4 months. three.
What about Captain Booth?
Listen, I'm sure you made some good money.
Yeah.
Go enjoy it. Yeah. Go enjoy it. Get on a boat somewhere. Go be a family man. Oh, yeah, man. But that's the Denver news. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about it. We'll hear more reporting in the coming weeks. We can move on, but what's just a crazy way? And I guess to cap it off, I just want to show you guys this picture and just let me know what you guys think. Just marinate on this a little bit.
Man, get this off my screen.
Just let it sink in a little bit.
Just stop.
2027.
That's disgusting. Anyways, we can move on to the next topic.
That would be insane.
Jokic and Luka together. Listen,
I'm not gonna lie. We'd have to stop doing the pod. I couldn't be up here with you if the Lakers got Jokic and Luka.